guys, it's Reagan and welcome to the start of another reading vlog. It's a beautiful spring day outside and I am so looking forward to my TBR. It's very action-packed, full of lots and twists and turns, just in general. I'm really looking forward to sharing my thoughts and feelings with you guys and also hearing your feelings in the comments. But before we dive into the TBR itself, first a word from this video's sponsor, which is Nebo. Hi guys, so as I said, thank you so much for Nebo for sponsoring this video. But if you're not familiar, Nebo is a cutting-edge note-taking app that works perfectly if you're a student, like to take notes at work for productivity, or like me, like to take notes while I'm reading because you forget all the details between books 1 and 2. Nebo has fantastic handwriting recognition software that transforms handwritten notes into digital text. This gives you both the benefits of the process of handwriting all your notes, which I personally prefer for like memory retention and like paying attention when I'm doing something, with technological convenience. Nebo allows you to write, draw, work through things like mathematical equations, all while transcribing it digitally. No more stressing about misplacing your notebook because you're able to access Nebo across multiple different platforms and of course on the go. Plus, Nebo really respects the process of writing, so they focused a lot on making their app responsive and really feel like you're writing within a notebook. Thank you again for Nebo for sponsoring this video. If you guys want to learn more about this app, I will of course have it linked down below in the description. Not to mention, I'll also be showing some of my top secret reading notes over the course of this vlog as well. But let's go ahead and jump back into the TBR. So the TBR for this vlog is definitely very sci-fi oriented. I'm very much in the mood for space, mystery, drama, and I'm also going to be picking up a book off my TBR that I have been dying to get to ever since I finished book 2, and that is Nona the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. I read Getting the Ninth and also read Harrow the Ninth in January, I want to say. Loved both of them so much. Obviously, Getting the Ninth was a reread for me because I keep reading it and forgetting everything. So I immediately read Harrow, and similarly, I don't want to let too much time pass before I pick up Nona. These books are very strange and purposefully very confusing, and so if I let too much time pass, I can't remember if I'm just like misremembering something or purposefully confused, you know? But this is a sci-fi series that centers necromancers in space. Each book is wholly such a unique and original experience. It's a series, but each story follows a different main character. Everything is very much connected, but the stylization and the point of view could not be more different book over book over book, but it creates one of the most mind-melding experiences. I loved the first two so much, so I'm looking forward to picking up book 3. I'm also going to be taking notes about book 3 so I don't forget stuff going into book 4, which is not out yet because I cannot restart this series again. I mean, I guess I could. I would enjoy a reread, but you know what I mean. And then the other book that's on my TBR for this vlog, Artificial Condition by Martha Wells. This is the second book to the Murderbot series. I read All Systems Red, I want to say 2 years ago, and for some reason just didn't continue on, which is strange because I liked it and these books are not long at all. So I thought now is the time. This follows our main character Murderbot, who is supposed to be an unfeeling, unthinking AI, but they have thoughts and they have feelings. And you follow them on a very dangerous planet as they're trying to do their job as an AI robot while not letting other people realize that they have free will and thought. It's both funny and really, really, really plot forward. Again, I really enjoyed All Systems Red, so I'm looking forward to continuing on with the series with Artificial Condition and maybe even going on to book 3, we shall see. But this is my TBR for this vlog, full of incredibly likable characters, unguessable plots, and outer space, so it should be a great time. But before we can do any reading, it's lunchtime. Ooh, I zoomed in. Okay, hold on. Before we can do any reading, it's lunchtime in this house. And if you thought I was done hyperfixating on this sub sandwich, you were wrong. I just couldn't eat it because of my jaw complications. But we're back, baby. And we're eating this sub sandwich. And I couldn't be more excited about it. So cheers. Hi friends, I am here with a reading update of Nona the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. I have read 80 pages of this book, and I'll tell you what, Tamsin Muir has a really special ability wherein which you pick up her books and you're really enjoying everything you're reading, but you also have no idea what is going on at all. In combination, at least for me personally, I have a bad habit of forgetting stuff, so I'm like, am I supposed to be this confused or did I just forget everything. So I did read 80 pages of this and also go on a Wikipedia deep dive, took a bunch of notes on stuff that I knew I kept forgetting. So now I feel like I'm at a really good spot in terms of remembering what I need to remember. But let's take a step back. So the Locked Tomb series by Tamsin Muir is truly one of the most original and unique series I have ever read. Not only is the concept of this book very original and has really kept me on my toes, but like each book within the series has been a very unique experience between each books, from the characters we're following to even like the style of the writing, because we're following a new main character in each book and they have their own personality, they're in their own specific headspace. They're impacted by different environmental elements that are going to make them move through this world differently, and it's wholly fascinating every single time. In the first book, we're introduced to our main character named Gideon the Ninth, and we're also introduced to this kind of sci-fi fantasy world where there are different planets controlled by different necromantic houses. Each house presiding on these planets also has their own like necromantic specialty. We are introduced to our set of characters, Harrow and Gideon, on Ninth house. Ninth house is very religious. They also do not have a lot of resources. They also do not have a lot of people living here. They're kind of struggling, let's put it simply. At the beginning of book one, Harrow is basically given an invitation to participate in this competition to become a liciter to the emperor of this realm, and she really wants to go to gain more opportunity for Ninth house. And she has to convince Gideon to come alongside her as her like sword companion or cavalier. Gideon and Harrow are arch nemesis. They've hated each other their entire life, but they strike a deal. They go to first house to participate in this competition. It's almost funny to talk about what the first one's about because like so much stuff has happened since, but the first one introduces us to a slew of characters, which is very important. And we kind of have this like murder mystery-esque storyline, and then a whole bunch of stuff happens. Reveals, plot twists, action, adventure. We go into book two, a totally different style of story, and it's a lot about grieving and trauma and planning and just being utterly confused purposefully, and also learning a lot more about what does it mean to be a liciter, the emperor, the past of this world, the creation of this universe where necromancers exist on these different planets, and all of these different people who have a lot of power, who have existed for thousands of years, these monsters and also rebel groups trying to overthrow these necromancers. Like there's a lot of stuff happening, I assure you. And now we're in book three, and you know, I can't even really tell you what this book is about so far. I've read 80 pages and we're introduced to our main character, Nona, who's just living life. She is with two characters we are familiar with from other parts of the series, and Nona has no memory of who she is, where she came from, what she's doing, but she's happy. She loves the two characters that she lives with, and she loves her friends, she loves this world. She's overall very, very happy. And very strange, to be honest. And we're reading and following this story through Nona's point of view. And because Nona has no memory and also is more limited in terms of her understanding of the world, kind of naive and childlike, what she's even told is like so minimal, but we can only, as the reader, know what's going on through how much Nona knows what's going on. So we are once again confused as all heck, as Tamsin Muir likes to make us feel. And you might be like, Reagan, why would I want to read a book series that makes me so confused? I don't know, guys, but I'll tell you what, I've never loved being more confused than reading this series, because I'm just like, I feel like Tamsin Muir is like leading me into a dark room and she's like, watch all this stuff. I'm like, okay, what is going on? But I also can't look away. But then you begin to make the connections at some point and you're like, wow, that was too good. So that's kind of where I'm at now. Confused, but liking it. And the third book so far, very, very good. That's all I can say. But in an effort to be just less confused and also have a record of my own thoughts and feelings that I can look back on, I'm taking notes this time around. And I'm also, and this is something I typically do a lot with like longer high fantasy books, but I needed to do it for Gideon as well because I've reread this series too many times. Like I need to have a record I can look back on. So I'm gonna show you my notes. Please don't judge my handwriting, my spelling, or the chaotic nature of my thoughts. These are from my own personal reference, but it's so helpful. This is my Nona the Ninth kind of page on Nebo. So first I have a section that's sort of just documenting things that I need to remember because I constantly forget them. I also have like a mini character glossary because they don't have one in the book for some reason. And then some major questions I had going into book 3. And then over here is kind of the beginning of my reading reaction journal. I have questions and then reading reactions on like different segments that I'll continue to make as I get further and further throughout the book, but this is for the first 75 pages. Hi friends, I'm freshly laundered and heating up dinner. I made like a Thai red curry soup last night, and we have leftovers, which is always the best. I'm also heating up some leftover rice, and I'm gonna cut up a zucchini, and that'll be that. And dinner is served. Good morning. We are making a pot of coffee, and I definitely owe y'all a reading update on Nona the Ninth. It's so weird, but like in a way that I'm really, really liking. Hi guys, I wanted to pop in to do a reading update of Nona the Ninth. I have read over 100 pages. I want to say I'm on page 140 of this book, and I'm liking it so much. It's just so wild to me how every book in this series is so unbelievably different. And oddly, this book, I would honestly describe it as like kind of domestic. We're following our main character, Nona, who you can't help but not love Nona. Nona loves her family, she loves her friends, she loves going to school, and Nona is so endearingly sweet and kind, and she's existing in a space where she doesn't know who she is, where she came from, but she does know that she loves her, you know, kind of pseudo parents that she's living with, who are characters that we're personally familiar with, and she loves exploring and just like helping everyone out. And like, you can't help but love Nona too. As a reader reading a third book in a series, it's a very interesting situation to be reading because one, we are familiar with these characters. Two, we don't know what is going on and like what caused this situation, even if we're enjoying it and it's like really, really sweet. And we're also reading, as I've mentioned again, from Nona's perspective. So we only know as much as Nona knows, and while we might overhear a conversation and glean more from it than she does, we're still only able to get as much as the conversation that Nona is overhearing. So there's just like a lot of investigating on our parts and like trying to read between the lines of like what is going on. And it's a very unusual reading experience, but I really like it. As I said, this book is very domestic in a way that I'm liking. And it's also interesting because like Nona only knows the world that she has experienced, and we're in this very strange setting, which is very different than any other location we have read from in this series. It feels very much like futuristic city that is on the brink of civil war. Some type of conflict has happened. Something has occurred between books 2 and 3 that has created a lot of unrest. We don't know what it is. Nona doesn't know what it is. Our 2 other characters definitely do, but they're not like talking to Nona about it. But Nona has only known this world, so how she moves through it, how she experiences it, how she interacts with it is still this very like rose-colored glasses sort of experience. And it's just like, she's so sweet, almost to a fault. But like literally this book so far has been Nona eating breakfast, Nona hanging out with her parents, Nona having some type of like sessions with her parents as they're trying to like have her talk about her dreams and see if she remembers anything, if they know who she is, because they don't know who she is either. We watched Nona go to school, we watched Nona hang out with her friends, and like it's just so like small in its scope, but it's so interesting. And I just really appreciate how Tom Zamir like really captures the spirit and the voice of our main character as we're reading from them. Like Gideon was hilarious and spunky and strange like the first book. The second book was really much more reserved, introspective, sad, as it was very much centered on grief and our main character as they were processing their emotions. And now we have Nona, who is this adorable, free-spirited, very kind main character that's just like living her life. And it's so good. I just love it. And I will say the tertiary characters that she's surrounded by, which I'm purposely not saying their names for spoiler related reasons, I love them. One of them I've loved for a long time. The other one is kind of a newer character to me, but I just really enjoy them within this particular tableau, but also what I've read from them you know, before, and also how they interact with each other. It's just so good. It's so good. It's so weird. Hi friends, I wanted to show you guys my outfit because well, my friend's coming over and we're gonna watch Love is Blind season 6 reunion, and then we're gonna go out and get some Italian food. It's kind of a springy day, but still cool enough to wear a cardigan, so I'm wearing this butter yellow cardigan. I'm a big fan. And then I'm gonna come home and read more Nona the Ninth because I'm so obsessed with that book, and I also think I will. It's supposed to be really rainy tomorrow, which fingers crossed. So I also think I'm gonna read the second Murderbot book, just sit down and like read it quickly because it's not very long at all. But nevertheless, I'm so excited. So cheers to that.
Thank you so much.
Trevor wrote, I love you more than anything in this world, and I'm going to marry you.
Good morning, friends. Happy Friday. The Love is Blind reunion was great. Dinner was delicious. And now I'm up and at 'em, and we're gonna read more of Nona the Ninth. I read a good amount of Nona yesterday before I only watched reality TV, but my plan is to do quite a bit of reading today. And then tonight I'm playing Baldur's Gate 3, and I couldn't be more excited about it. I don't know if I've showed y'all my new gaming PC situation on YouTube, so I'll give you a little tour of that in a bit. But Nona the Ninth, Baldur's Gate, and I'm also, I think, gonna start Rogue Protocol as well. So it's just gonna overall be a sci-fi fantasy kind of day, you know? My dishwasher is running, so apologies if you can hear that, but I wanted to do a reading update of Nona the Ninth. I have passed the 200-page mark of this book. I'm loving this book. How does Thompson Muir do it? This strangeness of this series also is just like right up my alley. I love reading books just being so confused, but in the best way, and that's how I feel while reading this book. There's also been some seriously fantastic reveals, which has made this book like even better as I'm like flipping through the pages, and like everything is so satisfying, like when you begin to connect dots. Oh, it's just too good. Nona as our main character, there's a line, one sec. That's a quote from an author who blurbed this book, and it says, "You will love Nona and Nona loves you." And that is so apt to describe this. This book is playful and clever, and it's also like there's so many layers because this is the third book to a series, and like as we begin to connect the dots, it adds so much more weight to what's going on. And it's also such an interesting approach to give us world building and a bit of a time skip for kind of the fallout of events based off of the previous book. But instead of just being like, and then these things happened, and then like unrest occurred on these planets and things are dangerous, it's like you kind of have to, you just experience that through such an unexpected lens of Nona and just like how this book is written. And I just feel like that's what Thompson Muir really likes to do with her world building, and the way that it's like she goes about it in such an unexpected fashion, which just, it makes me like obsessed. Like I'm just obsessed, you know? I'm just obsessed. I'm just obsessed. And I just love the setting, the domesticity of this, and I just know things are gonna get bananas. And it's so funny. Like every book in this series has been funny for its own way too. Like there's so many different types of humor at play. This book is so funny because Nona is so earnest. So there's humor in her being earnest, like us experiencing her as our narrator. And it's also, there's like layers to the humor too, because we know eventually who she is, and it makes things even more complicated. But 200 pages into Nona the Ninth, I am so obsessed. I have so many questions. I need to update my notes so I can refer back, but things are going well. I made ramen for lunch because it's Friday and I deserve it. Hi everyone. It is the evening now. Daylight savings time I feel like is kind of throwing me off. Like not in a bad way, it's just staying light longer that I feel like I lose track of time. Though it's been gloriously gloomy today, so I feel like I'm going to lean into that and pick up Nona the Ninth for this evening. I am gonna pivot to my other book soon, but not right now. But I am making myself a cup of tea, not coffee, so it's a win. It's black honey, or honey black tea, which I've been really liking because I love honey in my tea anyway. So I'm just gonna put that in here, put it in my cloud mug. Isn't it so cute? And we will pour away. Alrighty, I'm gonna let that steep. And while this steeps, actually, I'm gonna update my notes. Alrighty, I've updated my notes to include some updated reading reactions. And I'm so pleased with how this aesthetically is coming together. My tea is done steeping. I have my book and Matilda, and we're gonna do some more reading. Hi. I am on almost page 300 of this book. This book was like so slow and methodical until it wasn't. Oh my gosh, so much has happened so quickly. I feel like, I mean, Nona is just like, what is going on? And we, the reader, I'm like, what is going on? It's been a wild reading session in terms of plot with this book, but I'm really liking this. Thompson Muir, you're a new fave for sure. I love this series so much. I love it. I just really, really love it. Catching up on The Traitors. I somehow fell so behind. There's also a new season of Survivor that started, and I'm going to rot on the couch as is required. Hello, you can see me on a Friday night and play Disney Dreamlight Valley and catch up on all my favorite reality TV. Faux Fireplace is on. Matilda is very asleep. And I'm gonna read more Nona the Ninth. We have a rainy Saturday on our hands. What a glorious, beautiful day. And I think it's gonna be rainy all day long. So I'm gonna have some coffee. I think I'm gonna make some cinnamon rolls. Obviously, I'm gonna read Nona the Ninth. I am past the 300 page mark, so I actually think I'm kind of in the home stretch. Obviously do more reading today. Gonna play Baldur's Gate today, this time. Last night, I didn't feel like thinking, but today, I feel like I can think once again and roll those dice, you know? But anyway, cheers. Obviously, given that it's a gloomy day, I lit some candles, made some cinnamon rolls, and I'm now gonna sit down and play some Baldur's Gate and put the Real Housewives on my laptop. The best combination. Hi, it's me. Matilda is also here. I have been playing Baldur's Gate 3 for like 4 hours. It's been awesome. I'm not gonna lie. I'm romancing a vampire, you know. I'm uncovering secrets and trying to save people. I thought I was gonna be like evil. I couldn't do it. So I'm literally helping everyone and accepting every side quest ever known to man. I also ate some Cheetos, which was awesome. So needless to say, I'm having a great Saturday so far. Other stuff I want to do is I'm actually gonna go make some coffee or heat up some coffee and read Nona the Ninth. I'm on page like 350 of almost 500 pages, and I have that other book I want to read too. I'm a little behind for my day because I've just played so much Baldur's Gate and it's like 4 p.m. But I'm ready to pivot. I'm ready to thrive. I'm ready to do these things. I'm also gonna edit a video. Anyway, I'm just rambling now. Coffee, reading, editing. Emily, my friend, is coming over later. I think we're gonna watch a movie. It's been great. It's been great. Alrighty, friends, I'm about to sit down and do some more reading of Nona the Ninth. I was planning on switching, and also feed Matilda. I was planning on switching to my other book in the midst of this, but I should have known better that I'm just too drawn in by this plot. But I still plan to read the other book, but I'm just gonna finish this book first. Before I do that, I do want to mention, I just think it's funny. I'm gonna show you guys my notes, which here they are kind of zoomed out. I just feel like they've gotten increasingly more chaotic as I've been reading because there's just been so much stuff happening. One thing that I really appreciate about Nebo is I'm in the freeform note section, and I feel like it's just so easy to shift between writing and typing, as well as I've added so many highlighter colors, which is really fun for me because colors are Gideon Nav, the skull, which are just fun from like an aesthetic point of view. But these are my notes. But anyway, I'm now gonna sit down and do more reading. I don't have that much left, so wish me luck. I had to pause my reading my book in the most chaotic scene. I feel like this vlog is all over the place. I'm sorry, but anyway, my friend's coming over. We're gonna watch One Day and just kind of rot on the couch together and likely bawl our eyes out because apparently that's what everyone does while watching One Day. So that's the plan. Order takeout. It's kind of thrive. It's a rainy Saturday. Like, what else are you supposed to do besides just spend all day on the couch? So that's the plan there. And then I'm gonna try to finish Gideon. No, not Gideon the Ninth. Nona the Ninth tonight. So wish me luck. We started One Day. We'll see if we can finish this in one day. Hey. Hi guys. Good. Morning. I'm in dire need of this coffee because your girl stayed up till 3 a.m. last night, which is very atypical of me. I still woke up at like 7:32. So I stayed up till 3 a.m. because first I finished one day, cried, and then I said, you know, I'm already up. Let's finish Nona the Ninth. Cried. But yeah, so I had a little bit of a late night consuming obsessively some media, and honestly, let's do a recap. So one day, I've never read the book before. I liked the show. I loved the casting. I really liked the acting. I also loved the storytelling structure, basically following these two friends one day, like every year for like a long period of time. I feel like the mutual longing wasn't as balanced as I wanted it to be, but in terms of entertainment, I mean, I marathoned it. Emily and I watched like the first half, and then I just decided to stay up and finish the second half, and I couldn't stop watching. It was good. It was romantic and all of those things. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but for what it was trying to do, I appreciated it. Then I finished Nona the Ninth. The back half of this book, this third installment, had me shook. The reveals left and right. I feel like you could make the argument that the series is really convoluted, and for what? Like, what is exactly happening? I don't know, but for some reason, not knowing everything and not seeing the full picture doesn't bother me, because the character dynamics and the strange structure of the writing style entertain me so much, and I feel so invested in the world that having such a limited view on like what is going on doesn't bother me. Which I feel like is a talent in and itself. But I can also see people reading this and not liking it because there's a lot of murkiness and just kind of a lot of stuff you're like, I don't know what's happening exactly. But the author does give you like enough reveals and enough stuff throughout the series. I really do feel like it hooks you. There is a period at the end, like the last 75, 100 pages, I was just like jaw on the floor. I also feel like the author has an ability to keep humor and emotional character moments throughout such a strange book. Like, Nona has these friends, one of them named Hot Sauce, and like the dynamic, like everything about it is weird and peculiar, and yet this endearing friendship group of, you know, young people was like so emotional to read and see, and like so impactful to our character, like just as much as like this end of the world zombie sort of setup and government takeover. Like, there were so many different things happening in this, and yet I appreciated and enjoyed all of them. This series is weird, and it's like my kind of weird. Like, I think it's because also it's very character focused, with such great characters that are complex and interesting and not straightforward. I don't know what they're thinking. They're always like 80 steps ahead of me, and I just feel like I'm along for the ride, and it just really works. So I finished this book. This book is 477 pages. I think there's one book left in this series, and I truly cannot wait. Luckily, I have so many notes I can look back on this ahead of the next book coming out. But yeah, 477 pages read. I watched all of one day, and now I'm gonna sit down with a cup of coffee and read some of Rogue Protocol. It is a very gloomy day outside today. I need to get aspects of my life together for sure. But first, we're gonna read some more. I lied, it was not Rogue Protocol. I don't know why I said that. I'm reading Artificial Condition, which is book 2 to the Murderbot series. I'm gonna start this, caffeinate a bit more, and then I'll tell y'all more about what this series is about. Hi friends, I have read a quick 50 pages of Artificial Condition by Martha Wells, and this series, which is the Murderbot series, is just such an interesting mix of things. So this is a short story collection centering our main character, Murderbot, and we are introduced to them in book 1, and they're anxious, depressed, and also a conscious bot, an AI. Their job is basically to be a form of security for this kind of corrupt commercial business where people basically hire security ships, resources to go to faraway planets to mine for resources, and Murderbot is sent along with them to protect them from any dangers that exist on these faraway planets, and there are many of them. In book 1, we're introduced to Murderbot, who is basically trying to pretend that they don't have consciousness and they're trying to get away with still just being a Murderbot doing their job. What Murderbot actually wants to do is just watch media all day, their favorite TV shows, their favorite books, and they're also deeply cognizant of themselves, and they're very much contemplating, like, what does it mean to be alive? They're a little listless, they're a little depressed, they hate their job, they don't know what to do with themselves. They're kind of directionless. They're very, very human, but how Murderbot is also written is very, very different as well. And that sort of combination is both endearing, funny, relatable, and then Murderbot also exists within this larger sci-fi world, and book 1 had honestly like a rather explosive like sci-fi mystery and situation at play, in combination with this great character work with Murderbot. I love being in Murderbot's head. I love watching them problem solve. I love watching them process things. I really cannot emphasize enough how funny they are. Murderbot so far in Artificial Condition, 50 pages in, this book is not long, so I'm 30% of the way through, is still very much processing, what do I want with my life? They've basically they're basically in a situation where they've left their long-term career and are trying to find like a new place for themselves. Like, what do they want to do? How do they want to spend their time? And they're, you know, like moving through space and time. Right now they're hitching a ride on another ship, and seeing Murderbot interact with other AI and other artificial intelligence is also just fantastic. Really, it almost feels like a coming of age, I'm in my 20s, confused and lost, but it's also like a sci-fi story following our main character called Murderbot, because they're literally strapped with endless amounts of weapons and they have artificial intelligence and access to all of this information. Like, they are themselves, they're different. And I don't know, the combination of like sci-fi plot and really human character focused personal journey is like a really good mix. And I read them so quickly. So yeah, I've read 50 pages. I'll definitely be able to finish this today. And I'm really liking it. I'm happy I'm back in the Murderbot world. I read the first one like 2 years ago and I took way too long of a break. Hyperfixation sub variant, because my normal spot is closed today. Chips, and I'm catching up on the UK Traders, and Millie and I are just vibing on this Sunday afternoon. I have been watching so much Traders UK, but I just made myself a cup of tea and I'm going to grab a little chocolate treat, because it's one of the best candy seasons, Easter. And I'm going to go back to reading my Murderbot book, because it's such a good read. It's honestly a pretty quick read as well, which always feels good. I'm a little sleepy today because again, I stayed up till 3 a.m. last night. So a nice short book on a Sunday will make me feel both productive and relaxed. So cheers to that. Hello, it's me. I'm officially halfway through Artificial Condition. This book is so short, so I know there's not gonna be like too much happening within it, but I'm also happy to report that I'm having so much fun reading it. I'm like literally laughing out loud. The setup of this is just too good. So I feel like each of the short stories kind of is going to create kind of this entire experience, and this book is very much setting up our main character to be prepared to go on kind of a mission of self-discovery. There's basically this mystery from their past, so they're not quite sure what happened, but they feel is that it's foundational for them to understand themselves and kind of like how they are today. So they're hitching a ride across the galaxy to be able to get this information. And as I mentioned, they're like on this empty spaceship, like an AI of another ship like let them on and said they'd like basically give them a ride. And the relationship that is forming between Murderbot and this spaceship is hilarious. It's basically like, you know, like in a cartoon when kids go on each other's shoulders and wear like that trench coat and they like try to act like an adult and they're like going around. It's like that, but it's two AIs working together to like try to pass off as like not like just a regular old human, nothing suspicious here. We're just a human moving through. And they're like, and for some reason the spaceship AI is like jumped on board to like help Murderbot be more prepared to like pass in public. And it's so funny and endearing, their relationship, and Murderbot's absolute disdain and like annoyance with basically everyone, but also this AI turning to like begrudging acceptance is also just so... Murderbot is such a mood. Like, they're so funny. They're so funny. And this book is like oddly lighthearted, you know? So anyway, it's so funny. I'm having a great time. Alrighty, I am now in bed with Matilda and I'm going to finish Artificial Condition. Hi guys, it's Reagan and welcome to the end of the vlog. The next day, I'm happy to report I finished both books I set out to read over the course of this vlog, and I was absolutely delighted and horrified by both of them. First things first, let's wrap up Artificial Condition, which is the second short story in the Murderbot series. I am just so endeared to this. It has such an interesting like sci-fi setting and world, but Martha Wells has such a way with writing characters. I felt this way with her other book, Witch King, but like Murderbot as our main character is so relatable and funny and interesting as they're kind of like seeking out this next stage of their existence as a conscious like robot, and it's just so good. And the unlikely companions and friends they make along the way and the trouble they're constantly finding themselves in, it's just top notch. I'm definitely going to be checking out the third book in this series soon because it's just like, I don't know, it's the perfect blend of like intense and heartwarming and funny. It's great. And then obviously I also have Nona the Ninth. I am officially caught up in the Locked Tomb series. I didn't know if this day was ever gonna come, but I'm so proud of myself for finally getting here. This book was a wild ride. I honestly wasn't sure what to expect after reading Harrow the Ninth in particular, because that book was a wild ride, and somehow this was even stranger and weirder and murkier than that reading experience. And the switch from being a very domestic, heartwarming picture of unlikely characters living together to what was the weirdest and darkest reveals in terms of expanding the world, providing context and backstory to how we even got to this place, and giving us a clear picture of like next steps was truly a wild time, if I'm being completely honest. I mean, the last 100 pages of this book in particular, my jaw was just on the floor and I was still so confused, but in a good way. That's basically how I would describe this book in general. Confused, but in a good way. But anyway, I was able to read about 700 pages over the course of this vlog, which I am really pleased with, and I liked both of these books so much. I again also want to give a shout out to this video's sponsor, which is Nebo. It is truly such a fantastic note-taking app that really caters to so many different ways of note-taking based on different needs in your life. If you guys want to learn more, I will of course have a link to the app down below. But thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you soon with another one soon. Goodbye.